This week, Jamestown Public Schools issued their first public statement surrounding the call to drop Red Raiders as the school mascot. This morning, we spoke to newly appointed Superintendent Dr. Kevin Whitaker about his plan to hear the community's feedback and ultimately come to a decision on what will happen to the imagery.
The charge moving forward is to review the imagery that we have around the district to make a decision about the various imagery that we have, whether or not we have removed what we said we would remove and what we will look to change in the future. And so by imagery, I mean if you've been in the gym or if you've been in the district or around the district, there's a caricature of Native American. There is feathers on the J. There's a number of cartoonish figures. There are images in the gym of Native American on horseback, a tomahawk, things like that. So we're going to start with an audit of what we have on our buildings and on our grounds, and just to make sure that we're seeing everything that we've got, so that we can make a determination as to where we stand with that imagery that currently exists. Then we need to make a decision about what we're going to do about it. And the last group, the last committee that looked at this, had made some decisions about the use of that Native American, that indigenous people's symbol caricature. So moving forward from that is we need to make some decisions about the feathers and other imagery. So that's kind of phase one of the project. Phase two would be working with our students and working with our fans around any kinds of songs or chants or fan behavior that elicits a connection to Native American peoples. And then phase three would be discussing whether or not the nickname is appropriate, whether or not we need to, if we want to come up with a new mascot, and what direction we'd like to go in if that's the case. And in order to do that, all that work, which is not the kind of thing you have done in a week or a month, it's the kind of thing that takes time because you have to listen to people. And the important part about listening to people is making sure that you have all viewpoints represented, at least in some way, on that committee, so that they can hear what the voices of the community are saying. So, excuse me, for me, and I know at the last committee meeting this was also expressed, it's incredibly important that we have feedback from our Seneca Nation neighbors. And I would like to invite anyone who represents Seneca Nation to get in touch with me. I've reached out a couple of times electronically to try to gain some opportunity, whether it's for a phone interview or a conversation or an in-person talk or whatever it is, so that we can get a sense of where they stand, because they're an important voice in our community and they're affected by some of the imagery and connections that we have in place currently.
And I know so far we've seen in the public's world here locally a lot of feedback from both sides, and it seems like there is points, whether they're for removing the logo altogether and coming up with new branding, or folks who are arguing that there's a lot of history when it comes to this school district, and that they don't want to just see this pushed off because of the moment that we're in. Have you received any feedback from people in the community, and what has that been like?
Sure. Thus far, people have been pretty professional, appropriate, and supportive of their position. I've had phone conversations, letters, emails. Lots of folks are reaching out from really all sides of that issue, all different perspectives. And I'm glad that that's what is happening, because it represents a couple of things. One, that folks trust that we're going to have a committee that is in fact going to listen to those viewpoints. And two, that people are willing to reach out to me. And I appreciate that, being someone who's new to the community and new to the school district, that they're willing to put their trust in me, that we're going to move forward in a way that honors what their opinions are, at least in the form of discussing it at the committee level. So when folks reach out to me, they very few people have had an absolute hard line, which is either change nothing or change everything. The group is somewhere in the middle, and the middle is yet to be determined by that by that committee. It's not something that I'm going to do. Top down kind of stuff. It's not something the board is just going to declare. They want to listen, and I want to listen to the voices of the community. So somewhere in the middle there is going to be a decision that I believe it will be the best that we can do given the information that we have at the time.
Now this week, the Washington Redskins announced they're in the works to change their name and logo.